Out here again for the second time on the highways and hedges, the cheapest concourse on this April the 11th, 2026, on this Saturday afternoon. So with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to and the Heavenly Father. True name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Bahashem, in the name of Hamashiach Yahushua. Those are the true names that ancient color your Hebrew. The lost of gospel of the tongue, and I said, Rock to the elders and apostles, say Shalom. And this is the prophet Joel, the third chapter. I'm going to start at verse 9. Yeah, chapter 3 and through verse 9. Yeah, this is the prophet Joel, chapter 3 and verse 9. It says, Joel, chapter 3, verse 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. It says, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near to come up. And I was checking my news feed on my phone. We had sirens, it was like alarm sirens was going off in northern Israel. Because keep in mind, I mentioned that I did a lesson about Matthew 24, chapter 7. You had Benjamin Netanyahu saying that despite the fact they might have talks with Lebanon, but you're still going to have tensions between Hezbollah versus Israel principles. Benjamin Netanyahu, as I quoted, he's saying that we're still going to continue to fight against Iran and their allies too, despite the fact that they're going to have talks next week in Washington, D.C. So now, after those talks between Iran and the United States, and then try to push for a ceasefire over there in Lebanon, so there could be a clear end as well too. But in the meantime, we had sirens going off once again over there in northern Israel. So that shows you that the tensions are ongoing to escalate between Hezbollah and the Israel defense. This is the prophet Joel, chapter 3, verse 9. So not sad to say it twice. Shout out to that brother Malakah. Yep, it says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, right, with some armies of other nations. It says, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Right, so let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Because you're still going to have the United States, they're still going to have their soldiers still on standby. And there was another news article, that's the spirit too, and that was a news article, and I was scrolling once again. They were saying that there's some serious tensions still amounting between from the United States Army side and from the Iranian side. They still gonna have they still might have some problems when it comes to the spread of the moose in that region. And I believe Iran potentially might remove those landmines in those areas over there in the Strait of Hormuz. But in the meantime, still, despite the fact they had this 2-week ceasefire between Iran and the United States, they still gonna have tensions between Iran and Israel, Iran and the United States, and Iran and Israel is going too. As Netanyahu said, hey, we're gonna continue to fight Iran and pro-Iran. So these oil wars, these tensions, and these nuclear wars is going to continue to increase between these nations as we can see. So the prophet Joel was mentioned that they still don't get in warlike mindset. This is Joel chapter 3, verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty, let all the men of war draw near to come up. Right, so let all the men of war draw near to come up over there in Western Asia, throughout over the Middle East, Western Asia. So you're still going to have armies of nations still going to go in clash with this one. This is Joel, so you're still going to have proxy wars and nuclear escalations and tensions heating up over there in Western Asia. What's that been going on previously? It's still going to continue to abound once again. This is Joel chapter 3, verse 10. It says, beat your plowshares and the swords and the pointing hooks and the spears, and let the weak stand strong. Right, that's what we're seeing. Iran, they still going to be in that warlike mindset against the Israel defense force, especially particularly because you still got Iran and Israel. They still arch enemies. They're going to have talks with one another next week. They still got that tension about against one another. And so Iran, they still going to be in that warlike mindset. They still going to be strong right along with their allies. Let the weak stand strong. And it's like that intense against South Korea, Japan, and the United States. Because you had, what was that last week? Kim Jong-un was saying that he had nuclear capability. They could hit rockets that could hit over there in the United States, in the territory areas of the United States, And there was some, what was that, day before yesterday, North Korea, they tested some magnetic, some type of weapon, magnetic weapon, something like that, that could cause like an EMP attack or something like that. And cause that shows you that in that movie, Leave the World Behind, they had the EMP attack, and then they had the nations of allies of China, Russia, Iran, North Korea. And so that shows that we're going to be seeing more wars and rumors of wars, more nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom, despite the fact that you got that 2-week ceasefire over there in the Middle East. So this is only going to continue to down between Iran versus the Israel Defense Force and the pro-Iranian groups going against the Israel Defense Force. This is Joel chapter 3, verse 10. It says, beat your plowshares and swords and the plunders at the spears, and let the weak stand strong. Right, so let the weak stand strong. That's what we're seeing from Iran and the pro-Iranian groups. They still going to be Hezbollah. They still going to be going against the Israel Defense Force. Hey, let the weak stand strong. They going to continue strong more. Even though they get heavy losses, but they still going to continue to be in a strength mindset. Let the weak stand strong. That's what we're seeing. They still going to be rise up against the Israel Defense Force. The pro-Iranian groups. This is Joel chapter 3 and verse 11. Assemble yourselves to come, all you heathen, while the armies of the other nations, and gather yourselves together round about thither to cause thy mighty ones to come down on Yahweh. This is the prophet Joel chapter 3 verse 12, and it reads to the Holy Scriptures. It says, let the heathen be awakened, while the armies of the other nations. It says, let the heathen be awakened and come up into the valley of Jehoshaphat. But there I was sitting just all the heathen round about. Right, so once the nations are being gathered up, they're going to be trying to go on this how Bashar Shad. That's when they're going to send just all the armies of the nations round out. But this is a controversy of the Zion one, like it says in Isaiah 34, verse 1 to verse 8. And this is Joel chapter 3, verse 14. Multitudes and multitudes in the valley of decision. For the day of the Howard is in that decision. Right, for the day of the Father, the Howard is in that decision. On the one. And the one that Bashar Shad. So this is the book of Jeremiah chapter. Matter of fact, before I bring out that Ecclesiastes 30 verse 8, then I'll bring out that Jeremiah 20 verse 8. And this is the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 8. It says, in a time to love, and a time of HATE, and a time of war, terror, peace. Right, so we still live in a time called HATE, and we still live in a time of war. Wars and rumors of wars, nation against nation. So that's something that continues to increase. And this is the book of Jeremiah chapter 28. We got to look at Jeremiah chapter 28, verse 8. It says that the prophets that had before thee and before the world prophesied of things, great country and great kingdoms, war, evil, and pestilence. So we come out here to prophesy against great countries and great kingdoms of war, evil, and pestilence. That's what we see in the war team. Light skin Jake Paul got the ball pass, kind of like that basketball Harry going play for Orlando Magic. I think of Denver Nuggets. This is Jeremiah chapter 28, verse 9. It says that the prophet was prophesying this. So these prophecies, they still get fulfilled. So we see a lot of videos about it. Make sure those things are fulfilled. So that's what it takes to this. And so Jeremiah chapter 51. Yeah, let's look at Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 46. It says Jeremiah 51 verse 46. It says, these shall heart faint with every woman that should be heard in land. And a woman should come both 1 year, after that another year should come a woman, God's land ruling his rule. Right, that's what the prophet Jeremiah was mentioning. Modern rule against modern rule. So, throughout the years and recently, we've been saying these modern day wars and rumors are increasing, just like the war ancient times. They are increasing these times. So, right along to that Matthew 24 chapter, wars and rumors of wars. So now we start to see all these wars and rumors of wars are increasing. They're building up more and more on a day-to-day basis, despite the fact they're on and off back and forth. But they started to increase throughout the years and recently. These escalations and tensions and these economical tensions, these nuclear tensions, these oil tensions between these nations, it's only going to continue to increase. Despite the fact they're trying to push for peace deals, hey, you're still going to have tensions heating up between the nations on an everyday basis around the world. That's what we're seeing, especially over there in Western Asia. Even though the tensions might cool down a little bit because of that 2-week ceasefire, but you're still going to have tensions. The tensions are still going to be there between these nations, especially Iran and Israel. And this is the book of Joel. This is Luke 12 and verse 51. Make sure I got enough on my phone. Yep, still good. Yeah, this is the Gospel of Luke 12 and verse 51. It says, suppose ye that I come to give peace on earth, I tell you, nay, the retribution. Why, so the Heavenly Father only got Son, Yahweh says, hey, think not that I come to send peace on earth, I tell you, nay, the retribution. And it makes perfect sense because he said that because we still see these modern day nuclear escalations and tensions are heating up between these nations on a day-to-day basis, even though it's been on and off, back and forth like a balancing scale. But we still seeing the tensions are only going to continue to increase among these armies of nations. So get back to that. Luke 21 and verse 10. And this is the book of Luke. Bring out another precept. Yeah, this is the book of Luke 21 and verse 10. We start at verse 9. It says, but when you shall hear of wars and emotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass. But the end is not by end by. Right? So it's going to come to pass, but it's not going to end by end by. So this way, Yahweh spoke about it during his times. So now this will be referencing these times. It's being well known in these times. These are modern day wars and commotions between these armies of nations. That's why we're seeing the nations are getting complex. The nations are getting stressed towards uncertainty. Is they going to come with a peace deal? Is it going to last long? If it's going to be great once again. You know, we got famines and pestilent plagues and judgments taking place right along with us. Uncertainty among the nations, more seditions, uproars, speaking world, moderate ruler against moderate ruler, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, wars and rumors of wars. So you're going to see these modern day wars and emotions are heating up between these nations. You still got China versus Japan. You got China versus Taiwan. It's heating. You still got China versus the United States. It's still heating. You still got Russia versus Ukraine. It's heating. You still got Russia versus the United States. It's still heating. So these are increasing signs of wars and emotions. Even though they've been up and down, back and forth, for example, increasing still. And this is Luke 21 and verse 10. Yeah, this is right things to come. It says Luke 21 verse 10. It says, then say he unto them, nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Right, more and more of a nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. This goes into Ephesus, because you're going to have a nation within itself rise against one another, and then outside of another nation rise against another nation, and then you're going to have a modern day king against rise against one another. Outside of another nation rise against another kingdom rise against another. So we're seeing modern day ruler against modern day ruler, modern day nation against modern day nation, modern day kingdom against modern day kingdom. So I'm going to bring out another precept. This is the Gospel of Matthew 12 verse 25. Hey, that was spiritual though. Ever since they had those talks, J.D. Vance and the meditators of Pakistan and Egypt, they went over there in Pakistan to have those talks for the Iran. they had some progress talks. I believe they're going to extend the talks. But ever since then, they still divided between over there in the Strait of Hormuz. They still got some tension between one another, you know. So that shows that you still got some tension between those nations. And you still got those tensions between Iran and Israel. Iran versus their allies as well too. And so best believe you're still gonna have tension between Hezbollah and Iranians. And so it's like after those talks, they had rocket side turning in northern Israel. And the rocket side because like I mentioned before, Benjamin Netanyahu made that announcement. He was saying that despite the fact we might have talked to one another, that's still not going to affect I'm going to still accomplish my goals. Continue to going against going against Iran. Because Iran, because Benjamin Netanyahu saying he still look at Iran as a threat. He still look at Hezbollah as a threat. And their allies too. So despite the fact they're going to have talks with one another next week in Washington, D.C., from the representation from Lebanon and from the representation of Israel, with the tensions are only going to continue to stir up. Benjamin Netanyahu, he in that warlike mindset, we still going to continue to go against Iran. We still going to continue to go against Israel Defense Force. We still going to continue to go against Hezbollah over there in Lebanon. So best believe you're still going to have heavy strikes over there in that area, like the southern part of Lebanon, and throughout that whole region, especially like the southern part, like the deep southern part of Lebanon, like the suburban part, which they've been using those airstrikes against them throughout the years and recently. So you've been having heavy intensity heating up between Lebanon and Israel. Hezbollah throughout the years. Now it's increasing once again, despite the fact those talks and peace talks that they've been having previously. They was supposed to have a peace deal. I would say a ceasefire did in November of 2024. Israel Defense Force, they broke that ceasefire. So I don't know why they keep on continuing to trust them. Because it's gonna be back and forth. It really don't make any sense. If that's the case, y'all should really want to get along with each other. Y'all continue to kill innocent men, women, and children. Because I believe you had one of the representations of Iran in Pakistan. They had on the seat, they had pictures of civilians, of the innocent people that had lost their lives in those airstrikes. A couple of days ago, this was there because they thought everything was normal, and then out of nowhere, not warning the civilians, not warning the citizens up there in Lebanon, Israel Defense Force did that heavy airstrike. So if I was the Lebanese armies and I was the Lebanese officials, I wouldn't trust Israel Defense Force. I spoke about that previously. If I was them, I wouldn't trust the Israel Defense Force. They cannot be trusted. They breaking covenants, they breaking ceasefires, which they previously did. But they blaming Hezbollah and pro-Iranian groups for those breaking those ceasefires. They do the same thing. That's what you call hypocrisy. The hypocrisy to its finest. So we're gonna be seeing what you call that the book of Isaiah 10 verse 1, unrighteous creeds. That's what the Israel Defense was doing to those innocent civilians over there in Lebanon. This is if I was the Lebanese, I wouldn't trust the Israel Defense Force if I was them. Because they're gonna continue to do the same thing over and over and over again. Hey, with that that commercial they used to have with that robot, that bunny that with the charge keep going and going and going. Hey, the Israel Defense Force, they gonna keep going and going and going, using airstrikes, killing innocent men, women, children, civilians. That's why it makes perfect sense. They haven't let up their armor. They haven't disarmed their weapon. It been talks about that between the Israel Defense Force. Haven't talked about potentially Lebanon about potentially disarming their weapon. That's what they're not going to do that. They're not going to let their guard down. They're not going to disarm their weapon. That's what they're saying. While we want to continue to disarm our weapon, y'all continue to use airstrikes, killing innocent men and children. That doesn't make any sense. We're going to have to find ways to defend ourselves. Lebanese armies, they're going to have to do the same thing as well too. So, when the reality hits them once again, that lets you know that lets you know, especially those Lebanese they got those airstrikes previously, now as recently, and that lets you know right there, we shouldn't trust the Israel Defense Force from Lebanon. And this is the book of I just want to add a side note to that. And this is the book of Matthew, chapter 12 and verse 25. This is the gospel of Matthew 12, verse 25. It reads, it says, and Yahushua know their thoughts, right, hearts and mind. He say unto them, every kingdom divided itself shall be brought to desolation. Or every city or house divided itself shall not stand. Right? So every kingdom or house or nation or city be divided itself shall not stand. So more and more these nations are going to be divided against each other. Despite the fact they're trying to have peace deals, trying to have peace with one another, just like the past that happened previously. That's supposed to get back up to once again. That's what we're seeing with the Russian-Ukraine situation. Even though they had a 2-3 day ceasefire to celebrate what you call that Easter with that Orthodox stuff. And once that ceasefire is up on Saturday and Sunday, the escalation going to heat up once again between Russia and Ukraine. And you still got those tensions are heating up between the European Union and NATO versus Belarus and Russia. So these are signs that we're going to see more and more of these nations are going to be divided against one another now, so more than ever. So I'm going to bring out this last scripture, then I'll close out. I think I probably got like 4% of my phone, 5% of my phone. My phone about to close out. Yep, yeah, 8%. Yeah, this book of Revelations. I'm going to start at verse 9. And this is the book of Revelation chapter 9, verse 12, and it reads, it says, the one woe passed, and behold, there come two woes here thereafter. Right, so the one woe passed, and behold, two woes here thereafter. And this is the book of Revelations. Yeah, Revelations 11, verse 14. It says, the second woe passed, behold, the third woe come quickly. Right, so the second woe passed, behold, the third will come quickly. Armageddon, Armageddon 1. That goes right to that Joel, the 3rd chapter. So we're going to continue to see the prophet Joel was mentioned that the Heavenly Father going to continue to put up these, the Heavenly Father going to continue to put that warlike mindset of these armies of nations. Wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come look as they continue to be gathered up more and more over there in Western Asia. Because the United States is saying that they're going to let their troops over there because they still battling over there in the Strait of Hormuz, who should have control of the Strait of Hormuz. That's going to cause some more tensions despite the fact they had that 2-week ceasefire. So that's like a temporary fragile ceasefire. So any minute that ceasefire can break it, Nero for the his mind change. He's a double-minded couple, so have his mind going. And so over these next 2 weeks, we're going to see how it plays out. If that ceasefire is going to hold or it's going to break. So we're going to see how it happens. But in the meantime, we're still going to have nation against nation, king against king. There's a heavy emphasis on increase between nations. And this is a book of Revelations, verse 14, read it again. Okay, so nice to have to say twice. Shout out to that brother Malak. This is Revelation verse 14. The second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly. Why? So the second will pass already, behold, the third will come quickly. And this is the prophet Isaiah, chapter 17, verse 1. Right, the prophecies about Damascus. Because you're still going to have heavy tensions heating up over there in Damascus, over there in Syria. I would say over there in Iraq, Syria, throughout that whole region, at the Golan Heights, and throughout Tel Aviv, northern Israel, central Israel, and you're still going to have those multiple you're going to have those multiple areas getting hit with rockets from Hezbollah in the northern, over there in Tel Aviv, over there in Ashdod, the southern part of Israel, the central part of Israel, the northern part, and they're going to continue to use heavy rocket barrage over there. It's like the Israel Defense Force is going to be using heavy airstrikes over there in Lebanon, especially over there in Syria as well too. While you're still going to have those proxy groups clashing against one another. So this is a future prophecy of Isaiah 17 verse 1 of Damascus and Syria is going to be taken away from you to see this year because you won't eat. And this is a book about Isaiah. And you're going to have the Syrian army. They're going to have to get involved in Russia. They're going to have to get involved in all these armies of nations and these proxy groups and the dragons of Arabia. They all going to team up together going against the Israel Defense Force because they're going to settle differences. And this is Isaiah chapter 13, verse 17. Yeah, this is the prophet Isaiah chapter 13, verse 17. Then I'm going to close out. Isaiah 13, verse 17. It says, Babylon will fall to Medes. Isaiah chapter 13, verse 17. It says, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which they should not regard silver, and as for gold, they should not abide in it. Right, so as for silver and gold, they should not abide in it. So the tension between Russia and the United States is going to heat up once again, even though it had cooled down a little bit because the tensions have been heating up over there in the Persian Gulf. Now we're going to have those tensions are heating up once again between Russia and the United States. So Nero 47, JD Vance, and PX, they're going to try to find ways to have peace talks. But little do they know that's not going to be the case. Because ever since February, I would say 2.5 months ago, ever since that nuclear treaty deal expired between Russia and the United States, and since between Russia and the United States is going to increase once again. So this is a future prophecy of Isaiah 13 or 17 that the version of Babylon falls to Medes, and that's the Lord Silver should not lie in it. This is the book of Ezekiel. I know I'm supposed to close out Slakia 6%. This is the book of Ezekiel. Right, Ezekiel, the prophet Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, that's a prophecy that's going to come past fulfilled. I would say Ezekiel, the 38th chapter through verse 39. So these are prophecies that's going to come past fulfilled. This is Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 4. It says, and I will turn thee back and put into thy jaws and will bring thee forth from all thy army, horse and horsemen. All of them call from all sorts of armor, even the great country of the shields. Right, so this was the prophet Ezekiel was mentioned that the Heavenly Father would continue to bring some back the judgments of Russians. The Russia, they represents the American while you still got Russia, Ukraine, only going to intensify, and then you still got NATO versus Russia and allies. Because I remember that I spoke about that like a couple days ago. You had Estonia, you had Romania, you had Estonia, and all these Poland, these allied Germany, Australia. Because I believe you had the day before yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, once again, you had the United Kingdom. They had called out Russians because they have a military building up over there in the Ballistic Sea. So you got two heating up over there in the Black Sea and over there in the Ballistic Sea. So that shows that allies of the European Union, NATO, they're heating up between Russia and Belarus. So that shows that these Edomite nations, they're going to be grasping more and more against one another. And we're seeing that Revelation 17 verse 16 is full effect, and we should make war. And so all is going to lead up to the Third World War. And then you're going to have the nations going to be gathered up in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. Hey, Wadi Habash and Ashaf. And we start to see that Deuteronomy chapter 30 verse 17 told these Edomites. And that's why we are rejoicing in that. Hey, Wadi Habash and Ashaf. This is Ezekiel chapter 30 verse 5. It says Persia, like it's Iran, Ethiopia, Cushites, Libya, all of them were still family. Ezekiel chapter 30 verse 6 says Gomer, which is the modern day of Turkey. Which Turkey, they got military bases over there in Iraq, Syria's war too. Because Turkey is going to turn that back on NATO. They're going to be joining up with Russia and Iran, and going against the Israel defense force. Wadi Habash and Al-Shah. Because previously you can have tensions heating up between Turkey and Israel, so keep that in mind as well too. And you had the president of Turkey been calling up Israel defense force due to their unrighteous greeds. And this is book of Ezekiel chapter 30 verse 7. It says, "Be thou prepared for thyself and all thy companies that are acceptable unto thee, and be thou a God unto them." Right. So Russia is going to be a God to these nations. Iran, Ethiopia, Libya, and Turkey. And they're going to be going against the Israel defense force. And dragons of Arabia, they're going to remember themselves. They're going to set up the differences, and they all going to team up together with Russia and all of them. So Russia's going to be a God to them. They're going to be going against the Israel defense force and their allies. And that's why the Heavenly Father's going to continue to slowly surely got the next up over there in Western Asia. And we're definitely seeing previous signs of that for these past month and a half. So it's only going to continue to increase. Sometimes it might de-escalate. It might escalate, then it de-escalate, then it's going to escalate once again. Because you know we've been seeing that throughout generations of years. Because the Heavenly Father, He's a balanced power. And so we're going to see it ramp up, and it's going to continue to increase once again. And so the second war passed, but the third war coming quickly. And so more economical wars, more nuclear wars, more oil wars, more blood wars, more trade wars, more sanction wars. These cities are only going to continue to increase between these nations. And so the second war passed before the third war coming quickly. So with that, I'm going ahead and close it out. Back again once again for the second time on the highways and hedges and GPS concourse. Through the spirit concourse version of the outside. And rock down to the elders and apostles of Hopper. And to that, I would like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wakashadash. And Heavenly Father, the true name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Bahashem, in the name of Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the Lashadash, the book of tongue. And I say, welcome to the elders and apostles, Bahakim, Bahakwa. Until next time, I will say, Shalom, and above all, Shalom.